I don't know if you were an elite or not while Craig just busts in really loud,
Yes, he's very
but
loud.
at least you can't miss it, right?
No.
Oh, holy frick. All right. I'm Commander Lark Shadow. I have with me today Commander Bloomingwind,
Hello, friendos.
and this is the Loose Screws Podcast. Hit that guitar.
Okay, that's long enough for squeezing the guitar in.
Yeah, probably. Either that or he's playing it just now, which would be even more hilarious.
Yeah. I don't know how he does this stuff.
So, how has your week gone?
Well, my week's gone. Yeah, it's been just absurd. I've been absurdly busy at work and, staying up doing messages at night, things like that. And then, we've been chatting about business that we'll be talking about today that was a big time suck.
Oh, yeah, we're
family,
going to have an interesting squadron update today, friendos.
Yep, and my family thinks I'm absolutely crazy. I'm like, I got a conference call with the space friends today. I got another conference call, and they're like, "What the hell is going on with your spaceship friends?" I'm like, "Oh, you don't want to know."
We're trying to end a thing. That's all you need to know.
Exactly. So I was like, it was just one conference call, and then it was like 3. So
I
anyway.
know. The fact that it turned into more than one was freaking hilarious to me. I'm
Yep.
sorry.
Yeah, totally fine, because it was that and watching dance moms with my kids. So
Yes.
my kids are 21 and 18, and when my daughter was a dancer, when at the same time that the show Dance Moms was on the air.
Oh,
So
no.
my wife and daughter would watch it and laugh hysterically at how crazy some of these moms were compared to the pretty civilized people that, were on my daughter's dance squad.
I was going to say, I have to ask, was your wife a dance mom?
Technically. But
Aw.
there was none of the drama and the backstabbing and any of that kind of stuff. I mean, mostly it was like, some of the moms were like, couldn't remember to bring like a shoe, or like they forgot makeup or something. And so like my wife is like the mega organized,
Nice.
was like, bailing everybody out. Oh, I've got hairpins. Oh, I've got an extra pair of shoes. I've got a backup pair of tights. It was just like, anyway. So they were, so my son, of course, he was the little one at the time. And so he was tortured by being dragged along to all this stuff. So anyway, so they're watching it, watching reruns of it and just laughing their butts off every night, because it's just such a crazy thing. So we've been watching that intermittently through the nights this week. So it was good.
Nice.
How's your week been?
Well, I want to segue from your dance mom thing because my wife and I do love some trash TV. We've been catching up on the latest season of Catfish, which is about as trash TV as you can get.
Oh, Lord.
And I find it fascinating. I'm sorry. It feeds me.
No, it's
But
all right. What is it about?
it's the fact that I used to be one.
You used to be a catfish.
I used to be a catfish way back in the day in my 20s when I was younger and stupid. I catfished some poor guy, and it's all water under the bridge now. Like, me and the dude I did it to are cool and everything. But like, just from that perspective, watching that show, like, I could watch it, and just from responses of people who claim they're not, I'm like, they are, and I'm right. But that's a little peek into Lark's life that probably nobody needed.
None of us needed that. No.
Yeah. So outside of that, I've actually been playing a lot of Elite, trying to get healthy again. As
Good.
everyone could probably hear, my voice isn't quite 100%. But I'm just pushing through because I'm tired of being sick. So screw this noise.
Yeah. And it's the wildfires that are making you sick, correct? Just so our
Correct.
audience knows.
So I had a cold, and I mean like straight up rhinovirus, which I don't think I've had in like 3 or 4 years. And it's amazing how just a common cold just sucks.
Yes, it does.
It sucked the life out of me and my wife. And then my wife got pneumonia, but she's on meds for it now, so we'll be on the mend. And as soon as I started getting over the cold and my voice started coming back, like 3 different wildfires popped off right across the border in Oregon. And fun fact, so I live in the Boise, Idaho area, for those that don't know, and that's not doxing myself because it's a big area. But the fun part about this area is this is basically the only real place between here and like mountains in or desert in almost every direction. So the only way into Oregon is or Washington is through Highway 95 going west and then north, or Highway 55 going straight up north and then going west, right?
Yep.
Both of those highways are closed down because of wildfires.
Oh my goodness.
Like we got friends that are trapped in Oregon and Washington right now simply because the only way to get back to Idaho would be to either go north all the way across into Montana, which with the wildfires in Washington is no safe bet, and then go south from there and cut across southern Idaho, or to go all the way down into California, into Nevada, and come back up into Idaho through Twin Falls. There's the only way.
Oh, that sounds awful.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had to kind of go or like a few blocks out of my way to get around some traffic, but yeah, that's a little more than a few blocks.
Yeah, this is like days out of your way if you live in Idaho and are somewhere else and can't get back here. It's ridiculous. So Valley's full of smoke. It's just everyone's a smoker right now.
Well, I hope people stay safe. When I see all that stuff out west, I feel bad for y'all, but
yeah, so far everyone is. Obviously there's some bad stuff that's happening from it. I don't know about any loss of life yet, which is good. But my gosh, so much is on fire. It's ridiculous. It's fire season in Idaho. We call this season Hell's Front Porch for a reason. But outside of that and the freaking health, I've actually been doing okay.
Good.
Because I'm just trying to freaking keep on, carry on. Because what else can I do?
Not a lot.
Basically.
Anything.
Alrighty. And so I think if I can get my mouse in the right place, we might be ready for a squadron update. 1 second.
All right.
Incoming priority message. Squadron briefing.
Alrighty. Well, this is the point where Commander Bloomingwind just starts monologuing. Alrighty. So,
Mr. Bloomingwind, you have the floor.
Thank you. So it has been quite a time this last couple of weeks. We've been always joking on here about, our most recent squadron updates being redacted, and we pulled our standing orders and actually started controlling who was in our BGS, who was involved with our BGS for the last several weeks because we've been at war. And my hope is that the war is going to be over. So here's the story, and I'm going to try to be fair to everybody, including our rivals on the other side of the conflict. And the reason is because I'm that kind of guy. So about 2 years
it's a pretty big assumption they listen to us, but carry on.
I think they will.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
yeah.
There's a part in the story where it leads me to think that they're probably listening to this broadcast.
Okay,
so I'm going to try to be as fair and reasonable as I can. So about 2 years ago, in one of our systems, Calarum, there was some strange and mysterious movement of Project Elite, which is one of the factions in that system, and it bumped into us. There was a war, we won. There was another war, we won. There was a war, we lost. There was another war, we won. It was really weird. And then we kind of said, somebody's interested in that faction for some bizarre reason, unbeknownst to us. At that point, we started trying to basically arrest that faction in its movement. And we don't know who these people are at this point. And so we're like, okay, and so we're doing this. This is Oblivious. It became a fun chess match for Oblivious at this time. And then, this was going on for a while. And then we started noticing in some of our systems, our faction being pushed into war was with other factions. And it was really weird. And we couldn't figure out who it was. And ultimately, the leader of this faction, and I'm not going to name names, and I'm not going to even give commander names because, that's just not polite. But basically revealed themselves to us, and they came on a little strong and really upset a lot of our squadron. And ultimately, I just wanted it over. I just like, you know what? I'm tired of grinding our gears in one system. I have other things I like to do. The other pilots have other things they like to do. Some of us like to explore. Some of us like to do Thargoid stuff. Some of us like to do BGS. But none of us feeling like we have to be obliged to be putting out fires in perpetuity. So I said, okay, you can have we said, okay, you can have Calarum, and you leave us be. And they said basically okay. They're a little cagey about it, but they said basically okay. And then at that point, a couple of our squadron members decided to do a little hazing and dropped a few bounty dumps in their system.
The TLDR of that story is assholery all around happened.
Yeah, and so I'll be honest, I lied because I wanted peace. I'm like, they're like, did anyone drop some bounties? And I'm like, no, and a few people did, but it was like, honestly, it was only like a couple of people a few times, and it wasn't
exactly.
And it wasn't this sort of grinding their gears and sort of perpetually keeping them from doing anything or keeping their system in check or anything like that at that point.
It's worth to note at this point that Calarum is a very low population system.
Yeah.
So if somebody sneezes, the BGS changes in that system. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. And because of all of the getting our attention in that system initially, and then us trying to prevent Project Elite from jockeying for position in that system before we found out who everyone was, the system basically degenerated into a cesspool, and it was already a cesspool of unstable negative states and all this other kind of stuff. So at that point, they were upset with us. They said we violated the terms of the ceasefire by, it's from our perspective, pranking them. It wasn't like this long grinding war. After that, right. And then after that, there was a second wave of a long grinding war from them. And then about November of last year, I was on vacation. At the same time I was on vacation, the other squadron's leaders, one of their parents passed away. And
which we feel awful about. That sucks for anyone to have to go through.
Yeah. Yes. And by this point, me and their leader kind of patched things up. We kind of were, the peace has always been fragile at best, if I want to call it that. But she had said to me, keep an eye on the system for me. So I said, okay, now keep in mind, I'm on vacation on another country. So I told the squadron, listen, guys, this happened. It's really sad. Just lock up the factions in Calarum so that nothing's going to change for a week. Because if these factions, that are really close in influence to each other get locked up and no one touches anything, after a week, basically the numbers are almost identical.
Right. So that's what me and Oblivious worked on doing.
Yeah. And I thought I did it to be nice. Like, go to the funeral, just be nice. And they were really upset with us. They're like, why did you do this? Why did you, stab our leader in the back, blah, 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 blah. And we're like, we're trying to be nice. Like, it's a matter of perspective, whatever. And at that point, they said, a pox on both your houses. They went their way, we went ours.
Correct.
And we heard nothing for a while. And then one of their squadron members, who was a member of our squadron before helping them out, rejoined us. And, we felt like we were getting along smashingly and everything was great. And those weird signals came back again, where we're seeing these signals in our systems where, we're being pushed into other factions, where wars are being started. There's a lot of resistance in some of these wars, and we're
it
losing
wasn't just Calarum this time. It was full-blown wildfire.
Yeah, no, basically it's a wildfire in our space. And we're like, what the heck's going on? This has been since April until now. And, one of their squadron members was trying to help us. And, again, I spoke to him, and, spoke to and spoke to other, the leader of their squadron. I've exchanged a couple messages with, and like to me, nothing is wrong. Like everything is, we're joking around with this guy. He feels like one of us. All this kind of stuff, and then he says life happens. I got real life stuff going on. We're like, okay, have fun. Good luck. You're always welcome back, right? And then their leader is off in the black, plant gunning, doing other things that this game has to offer. And
I'm
so,
doing plant gunning right now. It's great.
yeah. And so I'm like, who the heck are these people? We're like, they remind us of how Project Elite was doing it, but they're using After Dark Initiative as and waging a war with us using After Dark Initiative.
And it took a while for us to actually see that it was ADI specifically.
Yes.
That kept pushing that. Like it took at least a couple weeks to a month before we're like, okay, this is coming from ADI, but is it ADI pushing ADI or is it someone else pushing ADI or is it FedNex?
Right. And so we thought it might have been the FedNex. The behavior was like Project Elite, but it didn't seem to be Project Elite because I reached out to people. They're like, not us. I'm like, okay. Everything, all exchanges have been pleasant and wonderful. So I'm like, probably not them. I reach out to Ross
Right.
C30 and I reach out to Ross C32, the head of ADI, and he's just like, what? What the heck's going on? And so, and I'm like, oh, and he's like, oh, okay. So it's not, and it wasn't them either. So,
Yeah, they're how
war
many
against,
thousands of light years away right now? It's like
yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah. So the war rages on against ADI, and we decide, okay, we're making moves that are being anticipated. So we got rid of standing orders. We vetted the logs of all of our pilots who wanted to do BGS, and we created secret channels on our Discord. And we did everything from there. We
We
started
basically did what literally every other faction does normally, but we don't like to do.
Yes, we don't like to do that. We like to be open, loose, and screwy, mostly because we've had a Pax Screwiana in Screw Space, and we have wonderful neighbors who we love and get along with. So what reason do we have to be anything other than open?
Exactly.
Exactly. So anyway, so we then realized, okay, they're using a lot of bounties in their strategy against us. So because they were doing that, we went after ADI systems where you could get bounties, and we just had whatever factions were in there, took them over, and we basically purged their ability to get bounties. And then they probably started getting some things from mega ships, but then they pivoted and started using factions in other low population systems in our space to go after us. So if there was a system where there's a minor faction um, of convenience, they would start using that one. They started using the Alliance Defense Network, who are friends of ours, is just faction, and a couple of our systems.
And they were just as WTF as happening as we were.
Yeah, they were completely befuddled, and they were actually kind enough to actually try to help us a little bit with some of our conflicts up in the upper part of our space as a consequence of this.
Thanks, ADN bros.
Thank you, ADN. Gracias, amigos. So they're a Spanish faction. So
No, I do not speak Spanish at all.
fortunately, I do. That they're good. They're good people.
Good.
Yeah. So anyway, so basically, stuff's coming in from all sides, and honestly, I was at my wit's end. Okay, we've tried looking. We're trying to figure out who the heck these people are, and I'm like, I just want to find who they are. Okay, and so I go to the Elite BGS. Discord, and I post a message saying, "Hey, if you're the folks controlling ADI and grinding our gears, please say so." And of course, in Elite BGS, some folks are kind of like, "Well, stuff happens, and if you can't handle it, you can't handle it," and what I mean, just the normal, usual stuff. And I'm like, "I know," and we've tried this and we tried that, and they were very friendly and very helpful.
Right.
But they're
We
like,
ended up making friends with Imperials through all of this, for crying out loud.
yeah, and it's just kind of one of these things where it's like, it's a game, and there are going to be other people playing this game too. You're not playing the game in the vacuum, and I know, and that's fine.
Oh, I mean, technically, we are playing in a vacuum, but
we are playing in a vacuum.
Most of the time, yeah.
Most of the time. So, anyway, so wind the clock forward a couple of days, and our friend who was busy in real life and got away from the game, pops into the BGS and says it was him all along, with him and a bunch of help, and basically made the point to us that was made to our faction multiple times with the big reveals of the Project Elite folks to us, which is our faction, our BGS portion of our faction, and the amount of ban hours of gameplay that we do is not enough to protect 60 systems from others.
We're loose screws. We're not sweaty gamers.
Right. And so, it's just so, if people are going to attack us, we can't really fairly expect to be able to repel everything because there's too much us to attack. We're too big to succeed is sort of what we're told is sort of the moral of the story, which, I mean, in this game, it's more than just combat. There's combat, but there's also diplomacy. And also it's a game where not a lot of people who play it put in absurd hours. Other people who play it put in absurd hours. And so, sure, I mean, we can't compete with that. So the squadron got together and we talked about this. And we decided, what are we going to do?
Talked about it 3 different freaking times, not counting the just text chats that we've had about it too.
Yeah. No, my family thinks I'm insane because they're like,
As
hey,
does my
why are
wife.
you doing Yes. And Ed Skeekel's wife is too. I mean, it's like, why are you guys having conference calls? Because of Spaceship Game. And we're like, well, because there's stuff going on and we just it's easier for us to talk about it than type about it. So we're saying, what do we do? And at that same time, our rivals who are now, have taken over or using ADI, are saying they want to have ADI be theirs. I reached out to my friend Ross C32, who is the creator of the After Dark Initiative Squadron and DMF, and he's like, never heard of these people. They haven't talked to me yet. And I'm like,
for the record, that made me laugh so hard.
Yeah, and that made me laugh too. So I think that it would be very nice of the new ADI to talk to the old ADI and they come to a harmonious marriage about ADI. I think it's a good thing.
Yes, because the ADI still exists and they're cool peeps. Get to know them.
Yeah, and they want and honestly, they told us basically they want to take over ADI, and they'll leave us alone if we'll leave them alone. And they wanted an answer, and they were kind of rushing us for an answer. And I mean, we weren't really happy about this because we wanted to talk about it with the squadron last night and decide what we wanted to do. And so ultimately, we decided was we just want to get back to the game that we enjoy playing. So we are going to get back to the game we enjoy playing. We're going to do our bug hunting, do our BGS.
For the record, there's a few screws out doing bug hunting right now over at Thor.
Yeah, we're going to do, we have people who like to do exploring. I'm dying to get to Calarum. I haven't been there yet. And it's something on my to-do list. I'm afraid to leave the bubble because there might be a community goal.
Every time, man. Every time.
Every damn time. So I just have to not worry about the next shiny and just do it. Anyway, so we talked about what we're going to do, and we
basically decided we are all out of farts to give. We just want to play our game. We don't care.
Right. And so, and honestly, I think there's such a lack of trust on both sides because, when you start looking at BGS and you start thinking, every bump in influence is the other guy doing it versus not, there's no way trust can be built. And when, when our opponents, first it was Project Elite, moved on to After Dark Initiative. When we kind of were getting After Dark into a box, they pivoted to use other factions in our neighborhood. And, I mean, if they take over ADI and they don't like doing the BGS thing and they don't find directions to go to, because we're pretty much pinned in. Our little corner of the galaxy is very crowded.
Yeah. For those who don't know, Loose Screws exists our space, or what we consider our space, exists at the literal crossroads of Li Yongri, Antal, Hudson, Alliance, and sometimes a sprinkling of Grom, depending on how excited they're getting about expanding.
Yeah, exactly. So we're at like a 5-way intersection, which makes space kind of fun.
It does.
So at this point, you know, if After Dark Initiative is listening, that's great. We're gonna do our thing. We have no interest in any After Dark Initiative stuff that is not in our space. The After Dark Initiative's holdings that were taken from us, we're planning to accept their offer, and we're going to take back Howard. We're leaving Timor alone because of a previous agreement we have with Ross Z32, the founder, which was, we were going to make sure that they stay in control of Timor. The only reason we ever took it over was with his permission to deny the new guys a whole bunch of bounties.
I found grass.
You found grass.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! So, but there's a few other systems in our space that were wrested from us in the process of all of this. We're going to do our thing, clean up our space, leave those be for now. And my hope is that as we put everything else back together, and our neighbors who are using ADI start having fun using ADI, without bothering us, we could come to an accord where when it's time for us to clean up those 3 systems, specifically G218-5 and TT1139, home of
there's
the
a
Neutron
few
Star.
garbage fires out there right now.
Yeah, and then the third one, I even forget the third one off the top of my head, but it's one of those BD plus somethings, but it's the one with the
those really memorable names with a bunch of letters and numbers all smashed together.
Yeah, because honestly, I mean, we have better things to do than to be like on the defensive the whole time. And
honestly,
and my hope is that our neighbors, they do their thing without us. But it's just that we're just at a point where the trust is so bad that, if they have a mole in our Discord, they'll see it in our standing orders. And if they're listening to the podcast, my hope is that we can restore the trust again. We're actually store the trust for once, because we've never really trusted each other. It's sad, but we never had, and each one of these incidents makes it worse between us.
And we want to trust each other. And honestly, since the discussion last night, the more I thought about it, the more I think us just ignoring each other is the way to go.
Yeah.
Because that way it puts us back to a base where trust can be eventually built again.
Right. Yeah. And that's what we're going to do, is we're going to go our own way to Fleetwood Mac, and, our friends can go their way. And like I said, I mean, we know that our space is something that if someone was really motivated and someone was big enough and had enough free time, they could dismantle. And it's been proven. And it's been proven 3 times.
Also, good luck in a couple of those systems, because they're high traffic even without us.
Yeah, but it's just not. It's just not fun, and it's never been fun for us. It might be fun for some other people, but it just gets old, and that's where we are. So we have a system we're expanding into. We're excited about that. We're also working a retreat in that system so our friends, the Exiles, can join us there, because they were supposed to expand there. We didn't know it. And
oops.
Yeah, so they're
Sorry,
cool.
guys.
Yeah, they're cool with us controlling it. And then, our next thing is we're doing an experiment to try to take over Jira. I don't even know if we can expand into it, because it's one of those. It has 10 factions, 2 of which are federal rescue factions that are not leaving. So we're going to try to retreat out the 2 non-native factions and see if we can even expand into it. So really, it's a BGS experiment more than it is anything else. We're just going to see if we can actually open up a space and jump there with these 2 federal rescue factions there. We shall see.
Neato.
Yeah, neato. And so those are kind of some of the things. And like I said, as far as cleaning up the mess, we're starting off with our systems that we're in peril of losing control of, and finishing the Howard War. And then after that, our standing orders are going to have, other rebuilding projects. And they're going to be slow and they're going to be boring. If you want to adopt a system when the time comes, we are happy to let you adopt a system. And my hope is, again, we don't have anybody cutting our legs off because we're done. We're walking away. We're not looking at ADI anymore. We don't want to fight, but
We're trying to go the Thanos, I don't even know who you are route.
right. And we just want to, let Inara do the talking for us and go from there. I mean, yeah, because every time we've tried to hash out an agreement, there's been paranoia on both sides, and it just isn't worth it. It just is not. It just isn't worth it. Just say like, yeah, I have spoken.
Word. I have
So
spoken.
that is our squad update, and it only took 30 minutes. I think that's a record.
Nice.
All righty. So
honestly, it is.
So I mean, I did all the talking, Lark. So what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are my voice is still kind of thrashed. So what are the actual standing orders then? Because we had the normal standing orders update for the first time in a while.
Yeah, it's been over a month since we did that. And let me pull those up.
Over
standing
a month,
orders.
that's almost a year.
Yeah. So yeah. So like I said, we have the NLTT 52560 prep phase 1. Basically, we're trying to get all of the factions below 7.5. So when we go in, it's just a sailing straight up to the main faction. And then the Jera prep is we're just going to be trying to retreat out the 2 non-native factions that are there, and hopefully a spot opens up, and then we'll expand from where we want to expand from. I don't want to say anything yet, just in case the trust is not there. We will return to ADI, honoring our agreement with my buddy Ross, and then TT 58343 ADI just took it over, and we actually had a pre-existing deal with Project Elite a long time ago, and we accidentally expanded in there because one of our systems overheated. And we just said, we are keeping it warm for you and you can have it. And now that we know that, these new guys that are running ADI or that are using ADI are our former Project Elite neighbors, it's all yours, buddies. Enjoy it.
Good luck.
Yeah, have fun with it. And then, as far as rebuilding Screw Space, we have an election in Myola. We want to win. The war in Howard versus ADI, they offered us Howard back in exchange for Timor. So we're just going to try to win that one. We have a war in Dirac versus the Alliance Democracy Network. We want to win that. They're not helping us with that one because they won't fight themselves. They're really weird that way.
That's honest. That's fair.
Yeah, but they are helping us.
That, but if you're role playing, not doing that, I get it.
Yeah, but we have a war in BD 67-1409, and we want to win that one. And our friends in ADN are helping us with that. And again, the war in Timor, ignore it. Just let our friends in ADI win. And that is your squadron update.
Nice.
Any questions? Any concerns? Go to the Loose Screws channel in the podcast, and we are happy to talk BGS with you.
Oh, we're always happy to talk BGS. We're all freaking nerds about that. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. It's a big puzzle and a math problem. We love it. So, all righty. Next, Galnet update. Lark?
Galnet update. The CG ended successfully after much hemming and hawing and adjusting and so on and so forth and hitherto and farther on. And that's basically it.
Very good. And the Thargoid war update. So our
settlements are back on the menu, boys.
Yep. So our squadron is tonight at HIP 20024. They'll all be in bed and back to sleep by the time you're listening to this. Rolf's Horizons. There are no missions. There are no limpets, but it has a repair capability. Carrier parking is at Cole 285 sector JG's O C6-14. Look for the for Hans for Trax's fleet carrier. What is it? Hans
Intuition.
And look for that, and look for Bork's Invectives fleet carrier in the same system.
I was going to jump out there, but I saw they already had, so Nest is staying in SX for now.
Alrighty. So dev news.
Dev news is there is next week a frame shift update live frontier update live thing. I cannot remember what it's called. Help me.
Frontier Unlocked or FU.
Thank you. Holy crap. My brain is starting to get fried.
Yeah.
So next Wednesday, there is a Frontier Unlocked. I don't remember what they said they'd talk about, but I'm sure everybody's excited about it. I think it was more information on the Type 8.
Yep.
And since we're getting close to August, if it's not already, I might have gotten my months mixed up as to when it will be available. But the Python Mark II will soon be available to purchase for credits as well on your local
7th.
market.
August 7th.
August 7th. So just in a couple weeks, guys.
Yeah. Maybe we'll do a collab with Falcon DeLacy like we did with Core Dynamics for the Barbie Dream Bet.
Oh, that'd be so good.
It would be. And then
I'm more excited for the Type 8 though, and me and Volt will be covering that incessantly until everyone tells us to stop.
I think you guys need to have a very special episode of podcast dedicated to it. But you know what the best is? Grover Kiwi was talking today or yesterday or tomorrow, because he's in New Zealand. He was talking at some point in the space-time continuum about the T8 as an explorer.
Oh, I would totally use that as an explorer.
I know you would, but you like Nickelback. So I mean,
I'm crazy. Yes, that is true.
Yeah. So
but
you're the meta breaker.
For the tens of our listeners that don't know, both Commander Volt and myself are both Lakon, really, really big Lakon enthusiasts. My actual favorite ship by Lakon is the Crusader, with the close second being my Asp Scout. And Volt's absolute favorite ship from Lakon is the Type 7 of all things.
He has 20 of them.
Yeah, he does. Which he actually got me to fly for a while on a short-range exploration trip. And once you engineer it, it's actually not bad. It's kind of like flying a cathedral. It's very just majestic in the way it moves and looks. And so we have both been calling for the Type 8 since like before Odyssey. So we are both just over the freaking moon about this and waiting with bated breath for it to come out. And I promise you, I don't care how much it costs, I will be paying for it for early access.
Yeah, I'm the same way. They just better take my money, because I mean, I still don't know if the credit card or the debit card, whatever is resolved with that. Honestly, like my daughter we have a credit card my daughter uses for gas for college.
Right.
And occasionally a coffee, which gets me ticked off, but mostly for gas. But so I might just borrow her credit card, and I'm just gonna buy some ARCs on my daughter's credit card. And I mean, I'm paying it. It's like there's like we're just like, you're only allowed to spend on a little bit a month, and just so you get a good credit score when you graduate college. Yeah. But anyway, so I think I'm going to try using that next time I'm buying ARCs, if I have to buy ARCs for getting a ship. But yeah, no, but Grover was talking about it as an explorer, because it seems like it's a little bit sturdy and it's roomy enough for pretty much mostly what he needs.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at it the same way as like the ship that I use for basically everything, which, for the record, the two ships I use for basically everything right now are either my Asp Scout or my Viper Mark IV. They are the two most engineered ships I own. No, they're not to G5 yet, but they're getting really close on both of them. I've got G4 stuff on both of them, and the only reason I don't have 5 is because I keep running out of mats.
Yeah.
And so with the Type 8, like, I like the Python. I wanted to like the crate, but the cockpit just drives me insane. It's just a preference thing. And so I can't fly it because of that, because it just hits my brain the wrong way. So I'm really excited about the Type 8 because, hey, here's a larger medium that I can maybe bend it in ways to do basically everything I want to do in the game.
Yeah.
And that includes combat, because I don't care if it has a bunch of small hard points. Cannons still hit hard.
Yeah. My hope is that it's going to be my medium cutter. And because I mean,
Nice, baby carrot.
the thing I love about my cutter is I can just haul, and you know, NPCs don't do well, you know. And I mean, I just like having something where I can haul stuff and wipe people out if they're if I get intercepted. So
Yep.
you know, which is why I hated the T10 or the T9. Excuse me, I hated the T9 for anything other than just as a shieldless carrier from
And that's why
the
when
space station to my fleet carrier in orbit, like when I'm hauling tritium or
oh yeah,
something, or I'm
and
loading
that's
up
why I
for a
do
CG.
haul in my T10
Yeah,
because I don't even want to have to turn around. I'll just put all turrets on my T10 and wish the other
yeah,
pirate good luck.
yeah. No, but but I'm telling you though, my shieldless T9 with the new SCO drive, it's just like tap tap. I'm at the station. It's just like,
Nice.
and so you know, but like I said, I only use it for onloading and offloading if I'm in orbit. Otherwise, I bring out the cutter because you know, if you attack me, I want to blow you up. So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, but that was fun with Grover talking about it because I can't wait to see how much jump distance you can get out of a Explorer grade T8.
It's probably not going to be as much as we think, but it's probably going to be more than you would anticipate.
My over under is 50 light years.
As long as I can get somewhere around the 35 range, I'm good. That's usually what I
Yeah,
explore with.
yeah, but I'm thinking they can get 35. I saw that Grover was thinking about adding an extra fuel tank, but
Of course,
yeah,
because he's Grover.
yeah, yeah. But the fuel tank approach is interesting. I mean, I'd have to think about that. But there was some guy who did an all fuel tank Anaconda or something, and he was able to go. I think he was able to. I forget. I have to go back and pull the article, but I think he was able to go to like from normal space to Calarum without using a fuel scoop or something.
You,
It was like some sort of
when you say
bizarre
Calarum, are you meaning Colonia?
Colonia, not Colonia. Yeah, Colonia. I get Calarum on the mind. But Colonia. Yeah. So, all
Well, to be
right.
fair, when a garbage fire burns that high, it's hard to not think about
No, exactly.
it.
Yeah. And anyway. All right. So, community corner. Are we on to community corner?
I think we are on to the community corner, and
Yeah.
I will have to put a link to it in the show notes for everybody. But
Please.
Deturi's Elite has a couple new videos out. And vamp while I go to them because I can't remember what they were about.
Yeah. Terry's this guy who makes really great videos because they're positive and they don't talk down to the audience, and you know, they just kind of say how to do different things in the game and keep it real simple and real interesting. And if he's listening, which he isn't, we would love to have you on the show as a guest. So
We would. I've emailed him once too, but I don't think I ever got a response to that.
yeah, maybe
Um,
yeah.
so his new videos, a couple weeks ago, he did day one to getting at least a few million credits so you can get yourself into like a Cobra or a Viper Mark 3 or 4 or something along those lines from your Sidewinder, right?
Yep.
And the whole video was basically the way I taught myself how to do it just by flying around and looking at what was going on. And that's going to a res site or low res site, basically a place where there'll be space police. Find yourself a pirate that's getting shot at by space police, shoot at them a little bit, and then let them get blown up and collect that fat bounty. And it's basically just do that for a while until you
Yeah.
have a few million and go get yourself a nice new Cobra Mark III or a Viper Mark III or 4 and have your fun.
Yeah. And it's not just a good idea for you know, a new pilot trying to rack up some dough. It's good for learning some new skills to go into a you know, go to res site where you have you know, some assistance from NPCs because I mean
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, because when I got my free vulture from Winking Cat, thank you Winking Cat wherever you are. I did the meta, you know, dual plasma chargers and on it, yeah, and so I don't know how to shoot fixed hard points, so I used this to teach myself. I would just kind of hang out with the police Anaconda, and when the shooting started, I'd start practicing my shots and trying to lead because it's incorrigibly slow, the plasma chargers. So
Yeah, they're slower than I think even the slowest cannon. I'd have to look that
yeah,
up to confirm. The huge might be slower than them, but
yeah,
plasmas fire really, really slow.
yeah. So anyway, so yeah, so just for practicing fixed end hard points, that's a good way to do it as well. But yeah, no, the Deterri videos are wonderful. So
Absolutely. And then the one he posted 10 days ago, which for some reason I stopped getting alerts from him. That's why I missed these. And then I was sick and I wasn't on. So there you go. But the latest video is how to get the new best FSD, which is basically, according to him, no longer the pre-built one. He says the pre-built one is fine if you have the mats and you're just in a hurry and want to get out there. Yeah, go for it. But he is saying go engineer yourself to grade 5 a SCO drive on your big ship because it makes exploring around big star systems out there much, much, much easier.
yeah,
And he goes through the engineering you need to do and what specific engineer in the bubble to get and how to unlock them. It's just wonderful. And then he's off into the black in his Anaconda. It's great stuff.
yeah. Now I have enough mats to replace the frame shift drive on my what do you call that? My Phantom, which is my meta
Your
explorer
Meta
ship.
Explorer, right?
Yeah.
Phantom's not a bad explorer either. I can't
Yeah.
knock it.
No, but the thing is I have a whole bunch of those, V5 or the V1 double engineered, and I think the SEO still somehow ekes out some of those. And I even have
It
couple of
can.
size 6. Yeah, I have a
Yeah.
couple of size 6s. Now I can't throw Mass Manager on them. Looking at you, FDev, because for whatever reason they're the ones that have the you can't add an experimental to them, and then they keep saying they unlock, and every time they unlock it, the next update they re-break it or something. And so yeah, and so I'm not smart enough to go to Deciat and just put the Mass Manager on them. But anyway,
Anyways,
anyway.
yeah, and gosh, I'm looking at the modules. I'm just landing on my planet right now. I'm looking at the modules on my Viper Mark IV, for instance, and I did swap for an SCO on this because I was able to at least get it to grade 3
Mhm.
FSD, which for BGS stuff is good enough. Almost 30
Yes.
light year range, just
Yeah.
under.
Yeah.
And that's with all my weapons and engineered armor. But the problem is, I've been engineering so many weapons, armor, and shields lately that I am just straight up out of a lot of raw and manufactured mats just because
Yeah.
I've used them all. And
Yeah.
so I could only get up to G3 on this, but I noticed something really, really, really interesting that I don't know if anyone else knows about or if it's just me that noticed this. So it's an SCO drive, right? Size
Yes.
4. I put increased FSD range on it for longer range jumps, right? Blah, 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 blah. That works the way it's supposed to. But it also says overcharge max speed increase 117%. And I'm wondering if that was changed with the range or if my brain is just playing a trick on me with that.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to have to, in fact, I'm going to fly to a station right now and double check.
Hmm.
So live from your radio, I guess.
Hopefully you're not too far from the system. What are you
No,
flying
I'm not.
tonight anyway?
Oh, I'm just in Ross 310 because there's some actually really good biologic icy bodies in this system
Mhm.
with with bluish green skies, and it's just beautiful flying around and finding grass and cacti.
Oh, cool.
Do you? But yeah, like I said, I think my brain's playing a trick on me. I don't think increased range makes the SCO go faster.
Now, if it did, it probably burn fuel faster.
I mean, to
So,
be fair, the Viper's tank is not that large anyways. So
no, what's it got? Like 3 gallons?
no, it's a Viper Mark IV, so I've got 5.5.
Okay.
And and I am, oh gosh, I can't do the super cruise thing yet. Come on, get away from the planet. But on this, I'm actually running my patented small burst laser, pulse laser engineered combo on the smalls.
Mhm.
And then on the mediums, I have a fully engineered set of pack hounds on one side and still engineering them seeker missiles on the other, sort of going for a full like F-15 Strike Eagle
Ooh,
setup
nice.
on all this. And you
Yeah,
think it wouldn't be that good because missiles just, I mean, you know,
I know.
pack hounds are good, but normal missiles are very much hit and miss with how effective they can be.
Yeah. No, for
But
sure.
when you combine missiles with pack hounds, no matter how many point defense turrets the target ship has, it will try and target the pack hounds first because the pack hounds are a bigger threat.
Yeah.
And even though the seeker missiles hit harder, and I mean a lot harder.
Yeah.
So it's a good way to protect your seeker missiles and get those big hits in on them while running just full missile setup for trying to get their armor down.
So like offensive chaff.
Yeah, basically. That was actually something I learned from Flint back in the day when he was still streaming. I watched him do it from a Imperial courier, where he had his seekers on both two of the mediums and pack hounds on the other one. And he would fire all the pack hounds once friends got the shields down. And you could see the point defenses just going nuts trying to shoot all the missiles down. And then he just fire his seekers one right after another because they do fire pretty fast. It's like half a second between firings on those.
Mhm.
And you could watch the hole on the ship just 10%, 20%, 30% as the seeker missiles just slammed into him over and over. So it's good
Wow.
stuff. And I wanted to
Yeah.
try that on my Viper.
Yeah. Yeah,
Have
I
you
have a
done-
whole bunch of missile
Have you
racks.
done any weird builds like that?
Not really. No, no weird builds. I have a whole bunch of missile racks. No, I got a whole bunch of missile racks that are just sitting there waiting for me to do something because I my T10 had some missiles as I was learning to mine. I had a lot of things. I was trying to really hard to defend myself so I wouldn't die. And so I had
Keep talking.
four,
You have to AFK.
four,
Sick.
okay, so I got I have 4 large turrets on my T10, 2 lasers, 2 multi-cannons, but then I had 2 missile racks on the size 1s, so that way any pirates came near me, I was firing guns and missiles and lasers, and it was kind of a little bit of a disco ball thing, but pretty much it would take care of the NPCs so I could mine. Yeah, and then I kind of ultimately took them off when the spider lady gave away
Spider.
mining lances as rewards for a couple of community goals, a couple of those mining CGs. So I have a
Yeah,
couple of
freaking
these
zoom
really
into the wall.
long range size 1 mining lasers, which you're like, why do I need long range mining lasers? So the real reason is because when you're right at the end of a mining run and you're on your last limpets and you're all out of shooting prospectors and you just have whatever's left and you're trying to fill your refinery because your hold is already filled with ore. Then
Right.
so then what I do is at that point I use these long lasers to try to see, okay, which one's platinum, and then if the one that's dropping platinum bits, that's the one I'll go after to try to fill up my refinery. So
Nice.
yeah, so
And
those long lasers are useful, and then I retired my missile racks.
And I am landed, and I have just enough to finish off this last tiny bit of grade 3. And no, it does not affect that speed.
Okay, good to know.
That was just me being me. Sorry about that, everybody.
It's okay.
Wah, wah.
Well, that's what our listeners are gonna get tonight when it's just you and me, is it's gonna be
Is a
you
sad
being
trombone.
you. Yeah, yeah, you being you and me being me, and that's all there is to it, and if people don't like it, they can come on the show instead of us, so but, this is what happens when we draw the long straws. So, all
Oh,
right, the
shoot,
last thing I
dog.
wanna talk about is Buckey Ball, because Indigo isn't on. So race number 4 is on, Questing with Qixi by Clarrisa Au. And you can read more about that at the buckybalracing.org.uk or go to their Discord because as much as I want to race, I haven't raced yet. So maybe I'll do that. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm on that freaking train too, where I've really wanted to do a race, but because of everything else that had been happening, I just honestly didn't feel like I could, and that was kind of sad.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll get in this race as well, just because, something different. Let's go be crazy.
Yeah, and I got a stock Cobra, so I bought one, built it, and it just sits on the blocks waiting for me to take it out.
I do not have a stock Cobra. I will probably do that race in my Crusader or something equally stupid.
Oh, you're going to be doing in the wacky races division.
Yeah, anything unlimited class. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I just love the Cobra. I just love an excuse to fly my Cobras whenever I get a chance. I mean, it might be I'm just sentimental from the 1984 game, but
Yeah. And I love the Cobra too. Like, don't get me wrong. I just love the Viper Mark IV more. Like
yeah.
what the Cobra is to you, the Viper Mark IV is to me.
No, I get that.
Because one of the first ships that I loved after the Sidewinder, because I went from Sidewinder to Adder and then sold the Adder and got a Viper Mark III. And I loved the heck out of that.
Mhm.
But it just wasn't big enough. And so, like back in the day, that was my goal that I set for myself to get to the Viper Mark IV. And
Yeah.
that included being in a Cobra for a while until I finally got to the Viper Mark IV and it was everything I wanted it to be.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, I mean, the difference between the Viper 3 and the Viper 4 is the difference between a sports car and a muscle car.
Yeah, basically, the Viper
Yeah.
4 is just beefier, a little bit slower, and makes more noise.
Yeah.
In fact, the
Alrighty.
Viper Mark IV has more in common with the Cobra than it does its brother. So there
Yeah.
you go.
Alrighty. And I think that is a show.
I think you are right. So don't
So-
forget to like us on your podcast viewer of choice and 5-star rate us if you like us, or if you don't like us, maybe don't touch it at all. I'm just saying, helps other people find the podcast.
Yep.
If you want to find us, you can find us at loosescrews.ed.com, or you can also join our Discord the link is in the show notes. And you can also contribute to our Patreon, where we can talk about doing fun things where we give stuff away and then life gets busy and we all forget about it. But I promise we'll do it someday.
And then we have swag.
We do have swag. I have some of that swag. That
Yeah.
swag is awesome.
You can get a brick beer mug. I highly recommend getting
that's
the
out.
brick beer mug. Yeah,
I need
yeah,
to
that's
go
out.
get that.
Yeah. So I might get a few of those at this point, but
You should.
I should. He's my dog. He's a triple
Right?
thing. Yeah. So, but yeah, no, and yeah, thank you everybody for listening. I hope you put up with this one. And as Lark said, if you want to give us 5 stars, great, but never trust a 5-star podcast. Always trust a 4.5-star podcast.
Exactly. And if you don't like the podcast, complaints can be lodged in Airlock 5. Just
Yep.
make sure your helmet is off before you pull the red lever.
Alrighty, and with that, we are calling it a night. Good
Yep.
night, Lark Shadow.
Good night, Lark Shadow. Goodbye, everyone.